now Mike DeLorenzo. So Mike DeLorenzo is the president of MP Auto Group. We're very pleased to also be joined by David Lanzer and Ahmed Salem. So David is our priceless car rental franchisee for 20 years in Greensboro, North Carolina. And Ahmed Salem is a 2-year priceless franchisee in Tallahassee, Florida. So they'll be joining us as panelists, and Mike will be throwing some questions to them and asking them for input as we go along here. Just for those, to give a little background on Mike, Mike started in the car rental business 50 years ago at his father's gas station here in the town of Laurel, Maryland. He was a budget franchise owner for many years and is now the president of NP Franchise Group, the franchisor of NextCar and Priceless. So he brings his depth of experience as an operator and a franchisee of one of the major systems, and now as for about 15 years, the leader of his own group of over 200 franchised locations. We also continue to operate our own network of 20 locations here in the Baltimore Washington area. Pre-COVID, our fleet was up around 2,500 cars. I guess we still have about the same, maybe a few less, but we've certainly had to navigate that that crisis with everyone else. But today's webinar was really to focus on used cars and how the used car dealer can fit into a car rental business. So no further ado, I'll turn it over to Mike DeLorenzo.
Well, hello everyone. So I have prepared a slide presentation, Jason. So can you make that full screen? And the name of this is Bottom Line Benefits of Adding Car Rental to Your Dealership. I like that bottom line. Everybody gets that. So interestingly enough, I have, quite frankly, Jason, you're understating my experience. I now have 51 years of experience in car rental. I started in the summer of 1969 as a 17-year-old teenager renting cars. So interestingly enough, do I get the clicker or?
No, you just have to tell me to.
All right, so next slide.
Okay.
So we are part of the NIADA National Member Benefit Program. And under that program, we have pledged to give dealers who are part of the NIADA Association a $1,000 discount on purchase of a franchise. And in addition to that, we would make a $1,000 contribution to the NIADA state affiliate. And while there's not a state affiliate in all 50 states, they're in about 35. So we would participate in making that $2,000 adjustment to our purchase pricing. So next slide. So as you guys all know, the used car business continues to change just like all businesses do. But for the last several years, the new car dealers have been laser focused on increasing the profits of their used car departments. In fact, we're owned by a large new car dealership group, the Fitzgerald Auto Group, out of Baltimore, Washington. And like most new car dealers, the most profitable department in the dealership is either service or used car sales. The driving force for new cars is to get trades, and that's what's changed. New car dealers are taking market share from used car dealers, the traditional used car dealer, because they're keeping all their trades. They're selling very few of the trades that they used to sell at the auctions. So that's putting a lot of pressure on the traditional used car dealership to adapt to new market conditions. Next slide. This slide shows, this happens to be for Houston, Texas, but it's typical of markets all over the nation. The first 3-mile radius on the left shows 80 new and used car dealerships in this part of Houston, Texas. All competing with each other relentlessly every day. And inside that same 3-mile radius, there's only 5 car rental stores, 2 enterprises, a Hertz and a Budget, and an independent. And the point that we wanted to make here is in a crowded sea of dealerships, car rental would set you apart. For some reason, there's not a lot of car dealers that are actively involved in the car rental business. While for the last 5 or 6 years, new car dealers have been getting more and more involved in servicing their service departments by providing branded loaner cars for their service customers, they really aren't allowed to rent those cars to the public. So this would be still a good business to get into. There's still a lot of what we call local market or neighborhood car rental business available out there. The only real player in the neighborhood car rental business is Enterprise, and a little bit of Budget and Hertz, but not a lot. The neighborhood car rental business, so it's completely different than the airport car rental business. I want to make sure that everybody realizes this early in my presentation today. So while we've all been decimated by the COVID-19 crisis since mid-March, what happened in the airport car rental business is much worse than what happened in the neighborhood car rental business. The airport car rental business fell off by 90%. That means that there's only 10% of the business left, and 90% of it went away. The neighborhood car rental business only fell off by 50% for a couple of months and then started coming back, as David was saying earlier. So give David a chance to talk now. So David is in North Carolina. David has been a priceless franchise for, oh God, more than 20 years, long time. And David, tell everybody what's happening with your business in North Carolina right now.
So first of all, it's 22 years as of April. So
congratulations.
Thank you. We were told through all sorts of sources, including my franchisor. Some of you may have caught me saying, Mike, you were right. He hasn't done this very often in 22 years, but he was right this time. He said local car rental was going to be the first to come back when everything started to clear. We had a real tough time of things from March 16th till about the second week of April, when stimulus checks started hitting. Things loosened up a little bit. And right now, today, Memorial Day was just like Memorial Day always is. Our fleet numbers are right where they're supposed to be. Utilization's into the high 70s, and life is actually pretty good, which I would not have guessed. It's not that I don't trust Mike. I just didn't think, I couldn't see that happening so fast. So we were basically down for about 30 days or so, kind of recovered for about 30 days. And now since really the first or second week of May, haven't seen anything really out of, I mean, our utilization is fine, is what the long story short is. And local rental has been all of our bread and butter. I mean, that's kind of the model that we have here. We do a little bit more on rental than we do on sales, but both have been doing well during this time. And local rental is definitely outperforming what you would see at attractions or airports or anywhere else.
Where are your customers going, David?
Some of them are just shooting to the beach, going to the mountains, just all over. And of course, the biggest fill we have for our cars is that replacement customer. People that are in a car accident, we can do direct billing to their insurance company. People that are going to have their car repaired for a day or two, instead of doing a loaner, why don't you charge them rent? And so, you know, we don't do service here at all, but at the end of the day, we are giving cars to people that are having their car worked on for a couple of days, and then they bring ours back, and they go pick theirs up. So we do a lot of replacement business. We do a lot of local vacation trips. People, trying to get here, there, wherever. Their car's not dependable enough. Their car's not big enough. A myriad of reasons.
What's been happening with your used car business during this recovery period?
Oddly enough, April. April was a big month for us. We normally sell 5 to 10 a month. We sold 13 in April, and we did, I think, 14 more in May. I can't remember exactly the number. It was 14 or 15. I forget where we're at in May. But sales were strong. And of course, it's almost like the theory I have is that the stimulus checks created a pseudo tax season. I don't know if that's right or not. Who knows? Who cares? But the long story short, car sales have been steady. And as rentals picked up, we've actually been going and buying some of the cars, which it's been a lot of fun trying to buy cars right now. It's not been a lot of fun having 15 passenger vans that aren't being used and trying to get rid of those, but the cars and automobiles are just doing wonderfully. Minivans are doing wonderfully. But the high capacity 15 passenger vans are a little slow.
Okay. Ahmad, how is business in Tallahassee, and what's happening with your used car operations and your car rental operations?
Well, we were doing very well in April. May, when it comes to car sales, May kind of went down a little bit. June, we haven't really been doing well. I don't know, maybe because people are traveling, because the state is opening the second stage. So the car rental is basically, we're booking it. We're at a high 70% to and above utilization of our rental fleet, to the point that I'm actually bought new vehicles to add to the rental fleet so I can kind of satisfy the demand. Now car prices are insane, so it's making it hard for us to buy used cars from auction. So we're just using what we can. If I can't sell them, I'm renting them.
Interesting. Okay.
That's exactly what you do. That car's going to make me money one way or the other.
Okay. So let's head back to the slideshow, Jason. We were at, so we were just finishing up with this slide. So the next slide, please. So this is a slide, how does car rental fit into my dealership operations? And as we've talked about here with Ahmad and David, it all begins with you purchase a vehicle. You purchase a vehicle, and then, whether you're going to put it into your sales inventory or put it into your rental inventory, the first thing you're going to do after you purchase a vehicle is you're going to put it through some type of a get-ready or reconditioning process. And then you would decide whether you're going to put the vehicle in your sales inventory. Normally what you guys are doing right now is it's the only channel you have. So you're making a left turn off of that diagram and heading up and putting the vehicle from your get-ready process, recon, and putting it directly into your sales inventory. Then you start marketing that car online, most likely, or through display marketing, by being on road frontage, etc. And that encourages customers to come in for a test drive. You cobble together a deal for the customer, and you close the sale. That's what's happening with most of you in your car sales business. Now, if you choose to get into the rental car business, how this fits into your car sales operation is what this diagram is about here. So you would still purchase the vehicle on the left-hand side there. You would put it into your vehicle get ready and reconditioning process. Then you would turn right with the car and you'd put it into your rental inventory, which means you would license plate the car and add it to your insurance policy, your car rental insurance policy. You can sell that car at any moment, at any day. So that's what that first line connecting rental inventory to sales inventory, where it says flexible inventory. Your rental cars can be for sale the minute you put it into your rental fleet. Normally, your investment in license plates and titling is going to be somewhere between $100 and $200, depending on the state that you're in. There are some exceptions. There are still some states that have a sales tax burden that you have to incur. But for the most part, those are few and far between. And the vast majority of states, and when I say vast majority, I'm going to tell you 40 or 42 of the states. You have a sales tax exemption, and it's going to cost you $100 to $200 to tag and title a car and put it in your rental inventory. So then if you decide to sell it the next day, you would just incur that as an additional cost as you put the car into your sales inventory and sell the car. Because if you're going to make $1,500 or $2,000 selling a car out of your rental inventory, the $100 or $200 in extra expense will become irrelevant. So anyway, you put the car into your rental inventory and it's still for sale. It stays for sale during its whole life. You put it into your rental inventory, you market it online, just like you would with your sales inventory, except you're going to market on different platforms to different customers. And the customers are going to come into your store, whether they see the car on your display marketing, on the drive-by, on whatever highway or road you're on, or they find it at priceless.com or nextcar.com and come in and make the reservation and rent the car from you. That's a test drive. That also leads to customers who want to come in and purchase the car. In fact, it's sort of a phenomenon in the rental car business. The customers not only want to purchase a car, they want to purchase that specific car that they just rented. And David's nodding his head yes. And you cannot switch them to a different car because they won't let you. They want to buy that car. They fall in love with it when they rent it. There's something about the rental transaction where customers actually take mental ownership of the car, and they fall in love with the car, and then they want to buy that specific car. Not another one just like it, that car. But anyway, continuing on with the diagram, the rental test drive can lead to direct sales. Many rental customers have a lot of interest in buying a car because their own car is either in the shop, mechanical shop for repairs, or in the body shop for repairs. That's, depending on your marketplace, that's going to be between 20 and 60% of the business that you do will be those two types of rental customers, what we call replacement car. That's how we trade that generally. So those customers, there's a large percentage of those customers, they're going to start out being a rental car, and they're going to find out during their transaction, their rental transaction, that not only do they need a rental car, they need to buy a car too. So that also brings customers to your sales operation. And in addition to that, that rental customer will eventually return their car, and you'll close the rental agreement, and that turns the rental transaction into what we call rental revenue. And I'll have more details on what rental revenue means a little bit later. And then at the end of the car's useful life, so we tend to keep our cars in our rental fleet between 9 and 18 months for the most part, sometimes 2 years. But for the most part, 9 to 18 months is the rental life of a car. And then it becomes part of your fleet disposal program. And those cars would then be wholesaled to your sales operation and then go through your sales process. Or if you chose, you could wholesale the car at auction and make money there. There is a gain to be made on fleet wholesale as part of the rental car business. As you all know, Enterprise sells a lot of cars into the marketplace, and they make money selling their used cars. It's part of the rental profits is to make wholesale gain on the disposal of the fleet. Next slide, Jason.
Before you go to the next slide, Jason, real quick, Mike, want to just kind of stress that dotted line that talks about disposal.
Yeah.
One of the things we've done really well is when a car's been in our fleet anywhere between 6 to 10 months, it becomes, because of the way we depreciate and everything else, it becomes a great car for like a credit acceptance deal. If you happen to be a credit acceptance dealer, it becomes much more retailable, for lack of a better word, several months into a rental life than it does sometimes fresh off the auction. If you're trying to take care of customers with challenged credit, we've been very successful at that.
Interesting. So, yeah, and then on top of that, one of the things that I always tout is, you know, when you have vehicles in your rental fleet, you also have a maintenance history on the car, which then makes the car more desirable to the end user, the retail customer, because now not only is it a rental car that you've maintained for the last 6, 12, 18 months, you now have a maintenance history that you can report on, and our software program can generate a maintenance report that gives the retail customer a lot of confidence in buying these cars when you show them, you know, everything that you do to the car during its rental life. Next slide. So car rental, you know, in addition to producing inventory, it also does some other great things for your used car store. The number one thing that it does is it brings more customer visits into your store. It also brings more customers to your store for different transportation options. Right now, the only customers that come into your store are the customers that want a solution to buy a car. Car rental is going to bring a much larger group of customers into your store with different transportation needs. And I'll discuss more about these 5 subjects later in the presentation here today. It also is going to bring more sources of revenue into your car store, because now you're going to have a whole new revenue source called rental revenue. And as you heard David say and Ahmad say quite plainly, that they look for rental revenue to carry things when car sales are temporarily interrupted, because those things happen. It also provides item 4, more inventory for your sales operation, and it provides a whole new opportunity for you to actually wholesale vehicles at a profit. More customer visits. Let's talk about this in detail. So adding car rental increases customer traffic to your dealership, brings, well, I just discussed all these things. Next slide. So what happens on the customer visits is each 25 cars in your rental fleet will generate about 200 potential customer visits a month. So you're going to rent each car about 4 times a month. That's 100 rental visits where the customers show up to pick up the car from your store. And that's 100 return visits where the customers show up to return the rental car to your store. And then in addition to that, I'm always surprised about how many customers bring a friend to the rental counter. Sometimes they bring a whole lobby full of friends. I'm not sure why this is a community event, but they show up at the store with 4 or 5 people to rent one car. So the number of people that can visit your store in a month can easily be up to 300 people a month on a 25-car rental fleet. If you're running a 50-car rental fleet, you could easily have 600 people show up at your store. So this is a new way for you to get customers comfortable with visiting your store. It's a chance for you to convert customers into loyal customers, so that when they do need to buy a car, you're one of the first places that they think of, because they're used to thinking of you for their transportation needs. Next slide. So the transportation options that I was talking about a little bit earlier. So the short-term needs are the typical daily rental needs. You know, it's daily and weekly rentals is the driving force and the majority of all our customer visits. And we call those short-term needs. Then we also have a percentage of our operation is what we call intermediate term needs, and it's primarily monthly rentals. We have customers who rent cars by the month all the time at every store. Generally, these are uninsurable customers or credit challenged customers, and they're paying somewhere in the neighborhood of $800 or $900 or more a month for whatever vehicle they're renting from you. And I'm not sure why it's like this, but it has always been like this. And remember, I've been renting cars since the 60s, and this business really hasn't changed very much in all these years. It's remained the same, just the prices have changed since then. And then the long-term need customers, are, lease here, pay here is an option you can get into. Retail sales, of course, all of you are probably already used to doing. And then commercial leasing is another segment that you can get into in this business. Like right now, one of the hottest segments, even during COVID, has been van rentals to all the delivery services that are delivering all this stuff that everybody is ordering on Amazon and all those websites. Well, all that stuff has to be delivered to people's homes. So the cargo van rental business has gone absolutely crazy for the last 3 months on an uptick. So there's always different things that happen, unintended consequences when there's a market shift, interestingly enough. So as the guys said, David and Ahmad, utilization tends to run in the 70% range. I picked 72% on rent because that's an annual average for my operations. What that means is that you're going to rent the cars about 22 days a month. That's what the 22 days on rent means. So I'm looking at an average single car here. Your average revenue goal per day is going to be around $43.40 a day. That average revenue per day goal is going to generate about $954 per car per month. And then if you had a 50-car fleet, that would generate you about $47,800 in gross revenue. Your per car per month average contribution above the cost of the car is about half of that $954. It'd be, by my calculations for my stores, it'd be $498.99. So CPU I'll go into in a minute on the next slide, cost per unit. So the this example is looking at a 50-car fleet, which would then leave you, after the cost of the cars, with 25 grand to pay for all your other expenses. So the yearly contribution above depreciation, interest, and insurance would be 300 grand in round numbers. Next slide, please, Jason. So these are actual fleet costs from my own operations for last month. So this is just a hypothetical 50-car fleet. It's showing 5 economy cars, 8 compact cars, 10 intermediate cars, 5 standard, 10 full size, 5 compact SUVs, 3 full-size SUVs, and 7 wagons, 7 passenger wagons. We use the Dodge Journey for that, to kind of like a go-to car for us. And then if you look across here, you'll see what the average finance balance is on these cars in my fleet. So 11.3 on the economy cars, 11.9 on the compact, and so forth and so on. Jason will send this slide presentation to anybody who wants it, or did you already?
It's actually at npautogroup.net right now. So
Okay.
right on the homepage, it's talking about this webinar, and then there's a link to download the slides.
Okay, perfect. So you can get all this detail. I don't want to spend a lot of time focused on the detail. The big picture view here is the last line, the bottom line, is a total of a 50-car fleet. The average finance balance is $13,800. The total finance balance is around $690,000. The average monthly interest cost at prime plus 4 is $83.37 per car per month. The average depreciation cost is $292.44 per car per month. The total depreciation is 14 grand a month. But the big point I want to talk about here is the total cost per unit, the last column on the right. Total CPU is $455 per car per month, including insurance. So this spreadsheet just assumes the national average liability and collision insurance rate of $80. Your insurance is going to vary by where you're located. If you're located in a sparsely populated area like Wyoming, your insurance is going to be less than this. If you're located in a highly populated area like Baltimore, your insurance is going to be higher than this. And if you're located in an area in between, then you're going to be somewhere close to $80. So that's kind of like how insurance works. It kind of varies between $50 and $150 per month, just as a ballpark for everybody to understand. So looking at this here, the CPU for this hypothetical city is going to be $455 per car per month. So that's your break even. That's your depreciation, your interest, and your liability and collision insurance. $455 per month. So the economy or compact cars cost you in the high threes. The full-size car costs you in the high fours, and even the Dodge Journey. See, it only costs you in the high fours. It's the same price as a Camry or an Optima, believe it or not. So interesting stats here. So you can get a copy of this right on the npautogroup.net website. You can download this whole slideshow. So next slide, Jason. So more retail or wholesale inventory. So one of the other benefits that car rental spins off for your dealership is car rental can generate used cars for retail sale in the profile and price range and age of the retail demand at your dealership, usually at a price below wholesale. It can generate profitable wholesale inventory too. So what David was saying just a few minutes ago is that he can spin the cars off from his rental inventory into his sales inventory, because you're buying a car that's too new for your retail customer, and after it's been in service 8-10 months, and go back to the previous slide. So how this works, guys, is you're taking this car down at average depreciation cost, the column in the middle. So this compact car, you're taking it down at $240 a month. So after 10 months, you've depreciated this car at $2,400. So if you bought a car for, and I'm going to use simple math, if you bought a 2019 Elantra for 13, and I'll pick 13.4 because I could do the math in my head. You write it down $2,400. Now it's in your inventory for 11 grand. Now you're in it well below market, and you can price this car to your customer with a wholesale inventory cost of 11. So now you've got a profitable sale to make here. That's how this works. To the dealer's benefit is understanding how the cars get written down each month, and they can become switch cars for your customers too. In fact, our own parent company, the Fitzgerald Auto Group, buys most of our cars for their retail operations. We're only selling maybe about 15 or 20% of our fleet into the wholesale market, and about 80-85% of it's going to the retail operations for the Fitzgerald Auto Group. So it's very desirable inventory. And you can buy the stuff that you want to have as used cars, is the concept that we would train you on. You would think about, what do you want to have as a used car when you're finished, and then you buy that car at a higher price point and create it as it hits the sweet spot for your inventory. David, you have something to add?
No, that's good.
Okay.
You remember what I taught you.
Ahmad, anything to add?
Yeah, actually, the other thing is if you have a buy here, pay here operation, that really plays well with it, because when you buy the vehicles, you use them, you depreciate them, you make money on them, you turn around, you try to retail them, and if the bank doesn't give you what you want for it, and if you can hold on to the note, you can actually put it on your buy here, pay here portfolio for a while, and you can make significant amount of money from it. Just from looking at the numbers, just looking from intermediate comparative economy vehicles, if you depreciate it at 2.5% a month, within a year, year and a half, that vehicle is gonna have very little equity in it. You know, there's a value to you, but if you retail it and you take $2,000–3,000 down payment on the vehicle, you're basically almost home free. Then you put it on buy here, pay here for, you know, with customer for 3-4 years. You basically, you know, you can have your cake and eat it too.
Sound concept. That goes in, or you could do it under the lease here, pay here model, which fits also well into the car rental business model. So it gives you, your car rental business can also be a tool you could use to provide loaner cars to your customers for your dealership, your lease here, pay here, or your buy here, pay here customers when there are repairs, if you have a service department that you want to operate. So you can also use this to feed your own service department in that way. So just more ideas. But next slide, Jason. Oh, I'm sorry, back up. Was I finished with the prior slide?
Yeah, you're done with this.
Okay.
You're on the wholesale.
Yeah, the wholesale. Yeah, okay. So next slide. I'm sorry, I didn't realize where you were.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we're back to, we've been through the, how does car rental really work? We've been through this quite a bit, but I wanted everybody to see this again. You can see how the two businesses actually work together to create something that's bigger than either one by themselves. It really works together. That's why I asked Ahmad and David to join us on the call today, because it creates something that didn't exist. Either one by themselves is disadvantaged, and they really, really work together really well. Now, it takes some extra management to run two businesses side by side, and it's not suited to everybody. If you're not a good manager, then you're going to have trouble doing this. But it doesn't take a lot of personnel to run the rental business. You can run a 50-car business with a couple people. You'll need somebody to clean cars, which you already have, I assume, for your used car operations. And at some point, you would need to add somebody to manage the rental desk and write the contracts. At the beginning, you'd be able to do it with existing staff.
I know David cross-trains everyone in his operation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we've cross-trained several to sell or rent, but I want to say we only used 2 people until we got to 25 cars. It's just me and one other person when we first started out. Just depends on the operation, but yeah, having a car cleanup guy, one person would be able to run a car rental operation, I would think, to close to 20 cars if you had someone cleaning them up. But you got to get a day off in there, so it's going to vary.
Good. So the other thing, again, remember all those customers coming into your store. So the rental customer gives you a chance to create satisfied customers that have a temporary transportation need. And when other transportation needs arise, that customer is going to feel very comfortable including you on their selector lists of places they're going to visit or look for help to solve their long-term transportation needs, which is buying a car. So it's actually a way for you to market to your customers over and over and over again about specials for your used car operation. You'd be surprised how many rental customers actually end up buying cars from us. At one point in my career, I thought that I was eliminating rental customers by selling them a car, and then I found out they still come back because they have to put their car in for maintenance, they still get into accidents, and they remember those that helped them the most. And this gives you a chance to help people when they have a transportation need, all kinds of transportation needs. So it gives you a chance to create a much bigger satisfied customer and referral base that can refer customers into your dealership. Next slide. So these are just some pictures of different rental operations. So this is a new car dealership. In fact, it's one of the Fitzgerald stores in Frederick, Maryland. And that looks like snow on the ground. Right. And for those of you in the South, next slide, just go through these. And this is, Jason, this is Priceless.
Marietta, Georgia.
Marietta, Georgia, okay.
Yeah, they've been open about 2 years, got their fleet up to close to 50 rental vehicles, very successful buy here, pay here dealer as well.
Okay.
This is NextCar in Orlando, Florida.
Okay,
So that's
at the airport.
Airport-based operation there, great looking crew.
This is Priceless Car Rental in, not Marietta, where, Georgia?
Norcross.
Norcross, yeah, Norcross, Georgia.
Norcross, Georgia.
Right,
Nice looking facility there. Just opened up about 6 months ago.
right, new franchise, yeah.
Open to COVID, but they have been lighting it up ever since Georgia reopened. So doing very well.
And this is one of my stores, a former used car dealership that I took over, turned into a rental store that does very well.
Suburban Baltimore.
Suburban Baltimore, yep. And this is Priceless where?
Marietta, Georgia.
Oh, Marietta
interior
inside.
shot,
Okay.
and showing some of the COVID proofing they had to put up here recently. But anyway, hoping that can come down at some point. But they did a nice job with it.
Yeah, and these are our financial performance summaries from our franchise disclosure document. So for those of you on the call, we're a franchise system. Franchise sales is a highly regulated business. It's regulated by both the federal government, the Federal Trade Commission, and it's regulated by many state governments. And I'm required to disclose this financial performance information to you. And as you can see, it's consistent with the other information that I shared with you. So this is for the 17 corporate stores for the fiscal year ending 12 months, July 31, 2019. So it's my most recent fiscal year. And we averaged revenue of $40.21 per day for the year. We averaged revenue per rental agreement, $217.38, $913.71 in revenue per vehicle, annual average utilization 73%, and average length of rental was 5.33 days. And there's some other mean and medians and all the stuff that the lawyers want me to disclose to you. You should study all that. I'm sure it's important to somebody, but I'm required to show you guys these things. The next page, Jason, is the Priceless financial performance summary.
These are all franchise.
These are all franchise locations. Again, similar information. $43.22 average revenue per day, $278.96 per closed rental agreement. It's $842 per car, 76%, a little bit higher utilization, a little bit higher length of rent. That's why the revenue per unit's down because of the length of rent. And again, the statistics on how many locations beat the average, tied the average, and were below the average. So you can study all these things in great detail. These are all posted in the slideshow. And that's the end of my required disclosures by the federal and state legislations. So this is a rate shop, guys. So this is Enterprise's website for Laurel, Maryland, the thriving metropolis that we're all in right here. So for those of you that don't know where Laurel, Maryland is, we're famous for our horse racing track. We're also famous for the National Security Agency, NSA. It also stands for no such agency because nobody in Laurel works there. Nobody can admit that they work there. So this is a rate shop for 2 weeks from now in Laurel, Maryland. You can see that Enterprise is charging $44 a day for an economy car, $44 a day for a compact car. Next page. $55 a day for an intermediate car, $60 a day for a Jetta, $61 a day for a Fusion, $71 a day for a Chrysler 300. boy, prices have gone up since COVID because we're still on lockdown here. You guys are in the South are all thriving, but our government here is phasing off of lockdown. So we just began phase 2 statewide last Friday, but in the counties that we're in, we're still on phase 1 lockdown, which means stay at home and don't go to work. So we're having this tough time right now. So our business is only back to about 65 or 70% of what we would expect it to be this time of year. So interestingly enough,
But rates are up.
but rates are up. So that's interesting. Not what I expected to see. And the next page of the rate survey is just more, I just wanted you guys to see, what's happening, and you should shop Enterprise. That's the primary competitor in the neighborhood car rental business. So you should shop Enterprise in your market, see what they're doing in your market. But they've been closing stores also during this. They are really, as you all know, Hertz filed for bankruptcy. A lot of franchises are going to be put out of business because of COVID, because if they're airport operators, remember, they lost 90% of their business. So just like the president of Hertz said on her investor call about 3 weeks ago, just before she resigned, there is no business model for zero revenue. You cannot write a business plan that's going to work real well for no revenue. So that's why the airport car rental operators are having such a tough time right now. They'll all survive, but they're going to survive in a different way when they see what happens with air traffic. Next slide. Next slide. And even those 15 passenger vans that David said aren't renting, and that's true, they're not. And normally they'd be going crazy right now. Enterprise is still holding for $150 a day. Interesting.
It'll come.
So what we offer you is opening assistance. So we have area development managers that will work with you on getting your store open. We have a fleet leasing program. The area development manager we have right now is George Moorhead. He's based out of New Jersey. George came to work with us several years ago. George and I were both budget franchisees together. George, like I, has nearly 50 years in the business. He's a top shelf actual car rental operator. He actually did this for a living, and that's why we're qualified better than anyone else to help you run your business for a profit. We have cutting edge and proprietary app-based software programs. We're working right now diligently to develop app-based software where the customers can actually almost rent themselves a car, and you won't have to have employees involved in the transaction hardly at all, and eventually not at all. So we have a 24-hour road service plan where your customers can call and get help with their lockouts and their flat tires and their dead batteries because they leave the lights on. Those are the top 3 problems that happen to our customers. They lock the keys in the car, they lose the keys, they have a flat tire and don't know how to change a spare or claim they don't, and they leave the headlights on and the battery goes dead. Those are the top 3 problems that occur. Same 3 problems have been happening for the last 50 years. It's a people problem, but the customers never admit that they're at fault. We have national marketing reservation systems. We have a preferred provider network of the best vendors to help you run your business and acquire products at reasonable prices. We have insurance products, except in New York State, for counter sales and for liability and collision insurance for your rental fleet. The best program I ever participated in at Budget Rent-A-Car was called the Profit Group Program. We brought that program into our franchise system where we get operators together 2 or 3 times a year to discuss profit and loss at their store, We compare operations in what's called a composite. It's like a composite financial statement where you compare operations, and the operators help each other find best practices and the best ways to run their business. I'm also very, very proud of our training program. I brought Pat the trainer over from Budget Corporation with me. Pat has her own brand. You can look her up on the internet. She won an award from the Auto Rental News for training a few years ago. So we have both online portal training and classroom training. Pat can help you train your employees remotely so that they can go sit at a desk in the back room and take classes to learn how to be a more proficient car rental operator, anyone on your staff. Or we could have them come to class here at headquarters in Laurel, Maryland. We're about 20 or 25 minutes away from BWI Airport. It's a big Southwest hub, so it's easy to fly here from most places. And then lastly, we have a national convention each year, except this year, usually in Las Vegas. But because of COVID, we've already chose to postpone our 2020 convention until 2021. And that's my presentation. I'm Mike DeLorenzo. You can learn more and get a copy of this slideshow at npautogroup.net. You can email for more information, or you can call 240-581-1389. So,
David or Ahmad, anything else you wanted to add?
I think we're good. No. One of the things, I came from a franchise. I was with Taco Bell, and so I did George's job for Taco Bell, supporting franchisees, and got the notion there before I opened my location here with Priceless, that why would I want to invent the wheel myself? A lot of you are saying, well, you know what, I could be so-and-so car rental, and I really don't need all this stuff. And we've shown you 16 pieces of things that you get when you sign up. And using somebody else's wheel saves you a lot of grief up front. Like I said, been open 22 years, and about every issue I ran into, these guys had already thought of a way to fix it or avoid it altogether. And so very grateful to be able to take somebody else's wheel and use it instead of having to start over from scratch. One of the things you guys didn't mention is the rental agreement is the bread and butter of what you do. If you got a solid rental agreement, there's very little that can go wrong in the transaction as long as everybody's understanding that rental agreement on both sides. And just wouldn't do it any other way. Would never be David's car rental over here. It's just not the way we would ever do it if I ever had to do it all over again.
Ahmad, anything to close? No? Okay. So then, yeah, adding on to what David said, the number one reason why I don't recommend that you become Bob or David's car rental, because you certainly could choose to become an independent, is the customer. The customer is renting the car usually to go on a trip, and what they want is a network. And we have a network of 150 or 200 stores, and that's what the customer wants. They want to know if they're going to Orlando that there's somebody down there that can help them when they have a problem with the car. And that's the number one reason why you want to join a franchise system, is because the customer wants to rent the car from a network. They don't want to rent the car from Bob's Rent-A-Car, drive to Orlando, and then have a problem with the car and not have any way to get any help. So let's see if there's any questions or anything from the participants here.
Yeah, if there's anyone on the line that would like to ask a question, you can either use the Q&A, raise your hand. I'll get an indication here. Well, it doesn't look like anything's coming through, Mike, so I want to thank you. And David, thank you very much for your time today. And thank everyone who's participated. It looked like we were up to a good number on that watched the webinar. More information can be had on our website, npautogroup.net. You see the email and the phone call please give us a call or drop us an email for more information about becoming a franchisee. Thank you very much for your time today, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.